Dear colleagues, thank you very much for being here. Professor Szilágyi, it's the second time that I can be with Professor Liss in the same research group, and he's so wonderful. So thank you so much. And all the colleagues, unfortunately, we could meet only online, and even we have not talked to each other, but after this presentation, we hope that we can have a conversation. Social exclusion of elderly people, and in Hungary. But before, I would like to tell you how I try to deal with this problem. Do you know who are elderly? It's been my first question. I am elderly. So people, according to the literature, over 40 are elderly. Of course, it varies. So I think most of us are affected, not you, of course, and you are so young, so you don't deal with such issues. Now I'm getting old. I feel it in the mornings, really. But I think that at my age and at our age, we start to deal with this issue, even if we have family members who are maybe at a late age. So according to the literature, it was obvious that I should determine who are the elderly group that I should search on. And then I recognized that I should deal with the age group who are over 55. But between 55 and 65, we have got, I think, different legal problems. Because at that point, I think the most important issue is that we should deal with age discrimination, as Professor Wojtek pointed out. And not just age discrimination, but there are lots to do at the workplace when we have intergenerational conflict at the workplace. So at the beginning, I started to deal with this issue from a labor law perspective. And in Warsaw, unfortunately, because of mother duties, fortunately, because of mother duties, I could not take part in person in Warsaw. But I also sent you a video, and I've been talking about this. So labor law issues. But then I turned to social policy issues, because it's been obvious that when we speak about elderly above 65, then we have got, again, because of, I think, the good health conditions, again, age discrimination issues, maybe workplace issues, and then social policy issues also arise. However, when we talk about the old, who are over 80 or 85, then that's really social exclusion that we have to talk about. Social policy issues are not governed internationally. Professor Wojtek told us that we should have an international and European perspective as well when we search. But social policy issues are different from this, because social rights are attached to the country. It so much depends on the financial situation of that country, how we realize it, what kind of possibilities we have. And as we have seen from the previous presentation, which I like very much, it's also an attitude of the country, how we treat our older people. And it depends on the legal order as well. So when I turned to the social exclusion of elderly in Hungary, then after clarifying who are older, it was obvious that exclusion really exists in Hungary as well. And how we can discern it. One very important message from my presentation for you would be the following, if it worked. And I'm really sorry, because I have got lots of information on the slides, because if maybe you are lost, then you follow the text and maybe it's easier. But the thing is that first I try to have a regulatory framework, what exists in Hungary, and the main question was, what extent does the state's constitutional obligation is to help the fellow humans who are in need. And I have looked at the fundamental law, and Article 19 was a very debated article in our constitution, because as you see in the second row, we have got the commitment to help our human fellows who are in need, but the Hungarian state strives to provide. The Hungarian state does not guarantee that you will be secure, strives to provide any comprehensive social security. Then we have a social act from 1993. It's been modified a couple of times, but there has been a recent modification in line with the fundamental law. And it says in paragraph 2 that the individual is liable for his or her own well-being. So we have at first place the individual who should take care of himself, herself, then come the family members and relatives, then come the local authority, and then come at the final stage, the state. I'm very grateful for examining this question because normally I'm not dealing with this issue. And when I looked around the literature, I have seen that we do not have so many lawyers dealing with this issue. But from this faculty, actually from my department, we have got two people, May Pataki and Kristen, a lady and a man, who are dealing with this issue. And they say very strictly that the state is choosing to abandon many people because of this fundamental law modification and because of the paragraph 2 of this social act. And it also says very strictly that when we place the individual in the center and when we place the family in the middle, then we should have a proper family support system for this. And they looked at the statistical data and they have seen that there are many families who are struggling in Hungary. They are in need of family support, and even the mental health state of families are not as good, I think, in a great percentage. And this research comes also from this faculty, from the Faculty of Health Science at the university. So I have tried to trace exclusion. Where are those elderly in Hungary who are threatened with marginalization, and what helps? Of course, it helps when you look at how much pension they get. And I must tell you that I have seen figures which are disheartening, because the purchasing power of the money in our country has been deteriorating at an incredible rate for years. However, when you look at the pension, it means we have got about 2 million people who are over 65 now in the country. And I know that it's not as many, but 2% has a pension of less than 100 euro. It's 2%. Then we have got another 4% of this 2 million age group, 65 and over, who has less than 200 euros. So it's a very, very small amount. And I think the attention should be paid to them who have such a low amount of pension. And then I also looked at, and I'm sorry because you cannot see the numbers, but they are basic social services and daycare. They are first number of persons who receive care, and there are capacity numbers there. And in relation to social exclusion, I think two important services are needed. The first one is day centers. Day centers in the local communities, and we can see that there is a growing number who would like to be in day centers, but the capacity is not enough. And the second one is the daycare for elderly, which is actually when they live in the disabled home. We have got also a very growing number, and we have got less capacity. And that is a very bad sign of being actually marginalized. Because what happens here, the second one is a waiting list that I have looked at. And it's so interesting because we have got data only from 2017, 8 years. I don't know anything what happens now. But when we look at the waiting list, then we can see that so many people wait for this daycare for elderly. lots of people with them. And then I looked also at the wages in the social care sector. And there is, I think this is a Polish report, you might know this. In Poland, Hungary, then you know, the overall level of expenditure on social assistance is significantly lower than the European average, and the lowest level of salaries of social workers is also noticeable. But I think the most that we need is dedicated personnel that we need, beside the family members. Then I also looked at in other research on informal care in Europe. What is it like? Are the families tend, or would the families like to provide informal care? And we can see that, for example, caregiving in Europe generally is most prevalent among women who are between 50 and 59 years old, non-employed. It's very important, they are non-employed. So it's very difficult, I think, in our life to be employed and to have caregiving responsibility. They do mainly housework and they are religious persons. So the main issue for me was how to balance work and life, how to provide caregiving responsibilities in Central Europe. Because I think that this work-life balance theory absolutely do not work in Central Europe. Work-life balance theory, what is driven by the European Union, works in the Western countries. So women and men like us here in Central Europe, I think it's very difficult to have a sort of a balance between work and caring for our, for example, relatives or for our parents. It's almost impossible. The other issue was here in Hungary that, of course, we need an aging policy, and we do not have an aging policy. And as I have seen, you might not have in Poland as well. Older people, and actually we all deserve dignified aging. And now I think if we do not have enough earnings to take care of ourselves, then we are in trouble. And why? This individualism, which is now very fashionable in the generations, in your generations, is absolutely against social solidarity. And I believe in social solidarity. And I do not agree with my colleagues from the Faculty of Law that the state abandons us. I think it's very strict and it's very one-sided. I think social solidarity and actually social bonds, as we have heard from the previous presentation, are crucial. And how to influence the mind of the population if not like this. So, for example, I'm very happy about that kind of modification. I don't know whether it has any consequences, for example, on your generation, providing care for your parents and for your relatives. And I know that it's very difficult. But without social solidarity, I believe that a society is dying. And based on individualism, we cannot go further. So it's not like building on the future or for the future. So as a summary, we need aging policy. As in the previous presentation, we need, of course, more social welfare homes, more family support homes. Of course, the state should help us, but I think that direction which try to support us into the social bonds is also good. So thank you very much.